Hi, this is Darren Marlia, CTO and founder of SDM Software. And in this video, what I wanted to do is run through a scenario that's very common in a lot of enterprise shops that we talk to. And that's the use of group policy to help control access, security access to critical servers. So the scenario is this. I've got my group policy management console up and running here. And I've got an OU called PCI servers. PCI is the U.S. regulatory standard for credit card transaction handling. And so companies that take credit card transactions have to comply with a set of regulations around how that credit card and customer related data is stored and secured. And in a lot of scenarios, if that system is running on a Windows box, customers are using group policy to control access to those servers. So what we've got here is a OU called PCI servers, where I've got my servers that are storing PCI data, and I've got a group policy object linked to that OU, and that group policy object happens to use the restricted groups feature to control who has access to the built-in administrators group on those PCI servers. In this case, I've got a security group in AD called PCI server admins and another one called level 2 server admins that have general access, general administrative access. So the scenario is, what I want to do is know and be notified immediately if some of this access changes on these PCI servers. So what I'm interested in is tracking the life cycle of this group policy object that grants that access. Now what I want to do is switch gears and look at the SDM Software Group Policy Auditing and Attestation product. So GPAA allows customers to do real-time change auditing and alerting of group policy changes, but it also lets me customize and track ownership of group policy objects. So if I come up here to manage GPOs, I'm going to go ahead and look at the GPOs that I have in here that are not active for attestation or certification. In other words, those GPOs that I'm interested in keeping track of from an ownership perspective. So I've got my PCI server access policy GPO here, and it doesn't have an owner, so I'm going to give it an owner of myself. And the owner is, think about it as sort of the business owner for this GPO, the person that's responsible for ensuring that the GPO is doing what it's supposed to do. It might be the application owner in the case of a PCI application, or it might be an IT person. The key is that we can track that ownership and perform periodic certifications or attestations of the GPO and its settings. But the other thing I'm interested in doing is being notified whenever changes happen to this GPO. So I can control that using the primary support email, and I will automatically, as the primary support email contact, I'll automatically get an email whenever changes happen to this GPO. So then I can come down here and activate this GPO for attestation. So I'm going to go ahead and do that. And now this GPO, if I go back up to the active list, this GPO now appears in the active list, and you can see me as the primary owner and the primary support email contact. Okay, so now I've got my GPO that's being monitored, and it's got my support and ownership information in it. Now let's say an administrator comes along who happens to have access to this PCI server access policy, and let's say that unbeknownst to me they decide that they want to make an additional group have administrative access to this particular GPO and these particular servers. So if I come down here into restricted groups, I see here my current restricted groups policy, and let's say they come along and they say, oh, the marketing admins group has asked to have access to this, so I'm going to go ahead and grant them administrator access on this server. Well, as the owner of this GPO, I want to know that that change has happened, and I want to be notified in either real time or near real time, given the sensitivity of those servers and the data that they hold, that some change has happened to that GPO that's controlling access to those servers. So what I can essentially do once I've made this change is, now that I'm the support contact, I'll get an email from the GPAA product telling me, hey, this GPO has had a change to it. And so if I go to my inbox, you'll see, lo and behold, an audit event has come through that says this GPO, PCI server access policy, was changed by this user on this domain controller at this date and time. And here's the before value. In this case, it's the path to the restricted group setting, and it shows my original 2 group members. And then it shows the after value with the marketing admins group added to the list. So I'm notified nearly immediately that something has changed in that GPO. And I can also see that if I come down here to changes by GPO, I can go ahead and grab this PCI server access policy, and I can, by date, I can see all of the changes, including that most recent one that's just happened to me. So I get this information any number of ways and have the ability to see that change happen, that unwanted change in this case, in real time. So that's just a quick scenario where you can use the GPAA auditing and attestation product and native group policy capabilities to keep track of security access on your critical servers, whether they be regulated servers or just servers that are granting access to important information. Thanks for listening, and look forward to the next video.